The late afternoon sun cast long, golden shadows across the wide, wooden porch. Grandpa Doc, as everyone in town affectionately called him, sat in his favorite rocking chair, the gentle creaks a soothing rhythm against the chirping of crickets in the nearby grass. He wasn't really Doc anymore, not since he'd hung up his stethoscope a few years back, but the name had stuck like glue, a testament to the decades he'd spent patching up scraped knees, setting broken bones, and delivering babies in this very town. Beside him, little Lily, his granddaughter, sat cross-legged on a faded patchwork quilt, carefully arranging a collection of smooth, gray stones. Lily was a curious child, always asking questions, her bright eyes sparkling with a thirst for knowledge. Today, her curiosity was focused on the worn leather doctor's bag resting at Grandpa Doc's feet. "Grandpa," she began, her voice soft, "did you really carry that bag everywhere?" He smiled, a network of wrinkles crinkling around his eyes. "Everywhere I needed to go," he confirmed, reaching down to pat the bag affectionately. "It was my trusty companion for many years. Held everything I needed to help people feel better." The porch was a haven of tranquility. Hanging baskets overflowed with colorful petunias, their sweet fragrance mingling with the earthy scent of the surrounding garden. A hummingbird zipped past, its wings a blur as it darted from one flower to another. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the old oak tree that stood sentinel in the front yard, providing welcome shade from the summer heat. A friendly robin perched on the porch railing, tilting its head as if listening to their conversation. Grandpa Doc often felt a connection to nature, a sense of peace and belonging that he found nowhere else. After a long day at the hospital, or a difficult house call, this porch was his sanctuary, a place to unwind and reflect. The porch itself was a story etched in wood. The paint was peeling in places, revealing layers of color from years gone by. Scratches and dents marked the passage of time, each one a silent witness to countless family gatherings, lively conversations, and quiet moments of contemplation. It was more than just a porch, it was a repository of memories, a tangible link to the past. Even the air seemed different here, thick with the scent of honeysuckle and the comforting aroma of Grandpa Doc's pipe tobacco. It was an atmosphere that invited relaxation, a place where worries seemed to melt away like ice cream on a hot summer day. Mrs. Peterson, their neighbor from across the street, waved as she walked by, her small dog, Buster, trotting happily at her heels. "Evening, Doc." "Evening, Lily," she called out, her voice warm and friendly. "Evening, Mrs. Peterson," Grandpa Doc replied, raising his hand in greeting. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" "Indeed it is," she agreed. "Just perfect for sitting on the porch and enjoying the peace and quiet." Lily, still engrossed in her stone arrangement, looked up briefly and offered a shy wave. Buster, ever the friendly companion, wagged his tail enthusiastically. Grandpa Doc chuckled softly. "See, Lilybug. This porch is a popular spot. Everyone loves a bit of peace and quiet." He leaned back in his rocking chair, his gaze drifting towards the setting sun. The sky was ablaze with color, a breathtaking tapestry of orange, pink, and purple. It was a scene he had witnessed countless times, yet it never failed to fill him with a sense of wonder. "So," Lily said, returning her attention to the doctor's bag. "Tell me about being a doctor, Grandpa. What was it like?" Grandpa Doc smiled, a faraway look in his eyes. He knew this was a question that would lead to many stories, tales of triumphs and tribulations, of laughter and tears. He took a deep breath, savoring the moment, and prepared to share his experiences with his eager granddaughter. The porch was ready, the sun was setting, and the stories were about to begin. Grandpa Doc puffed gently on his pipe, the sweet tobacco smoke curling lazily into the air. Lily waited patiently, her eyes fixed on his face, eager to hear his story. "Being a doctor," he began, his voice a low rumble, "it's not just a job, Lilybug. It's a calling. And my calling started a long, long time ago, when I was just a little shaver myself." He paused, lost in thought for a moment, his gaze fixed on a distant memory. "I must have been about your age, maybe a little older." We lived on a small farm back then, not far from here. Life was simple, but sometimes it was hard. He shifted slightly in his rocking chair. Old Man Hemlock lived down the road. He was our family doctor. Dr. Hemlock wasn't a fancy doctor. He drove an old beat-up Ford, and his bag was even more worn than this one. But he had a kind heart and gentle hands, and he always knew what to do when someone was sick or hurt. Grandpa Doc smiled, remembering. I remember one winter, a terrible blizzard hit. We were snowed in for days. My little sister, Daisy, she got very sick. High fever, coughing, we were all scared. My parents bundled her up as best they could, but they couldn't get her fever down. He took another puff of his pipe, the ember glowing red in the fading light. Dr. Hemlock, he walked miles through the snow, just to reach our farm. He was covered in snow, shivering from the cold, but he had that old black bag clutched tight to his chest. He examined Daisy, gave her some medicine, and stayed with us until her fever broke. I remember watching him, seeing how calm and reassuring he was, even though he must have been exhausted. He made Daisy feel better, and he made my parents feel better too. That's when I knew. I wanted to be just like him. Lily's eyes were wide with admiration. So, Dr. Hemlock inspired you? He did, indeed, Grandpa Doc confirmed. He showed me the power of helping others, the importance of caring for people, even when it's difficult. He wasn't just a doctor, he was a friend, a neighbor, a pillar of the community. He taught me that being a doctor isn't just about knowing medicine, it's about having compassion, about listening to people, about being there for them when they need you most. He never asked for much, and he always had a smile on his face, even when he was tired. Grandpa Doc leaned forward, his voice taking on a more serious tone. Now, Dr. Hemlock wasn't perfect, mind you. He was just a man, doing the best he could with what he had. But he had a good heart, and he always put his patients first. And that's what mattered most. He paused again, looking at Lily with a twinkle in his eye. Of course, there was also that time I read a book about a jungle doctor who saved a whole village from a terrible disease. That was pretty exciting too, but Dr. Hemlock, he was the real deal. Lily giggled. A jungle doctor? Wow. Yes, well, Grandpa Doc chuckled. Maybe the jungle doctor added a little bit of sparkle to the dream, but it was Dr. Hemlock who showed me what being a doctor truly meant. He showed me that it was about more than just fixing broken bones and curing illnesses. It was about making a difference in people's lives. He looked at Lily with a gentle smile. So, that's how it started, Lilybug. A little boy, inspired by a kind old doctor, wanting to make the world a better place, one patient at a time. He reached over and gently squeezed her hand. And that, my dear, is the spark that ignited my dream. So, I had the dream, Grandpa Doc continued, tapping his pipe against the porch railing to knock out the ash. But dreams don't come true just by wishing, Lilybug. They take a whole lot of hard work, and let me tell you, medical school was the hardest work I'd ever done in my life. Lily leaned forward, her eyebrows furrowed with concern. Harder than farming? Grandpa Doc chuckled. In a different way, yes. Farming was hard on the body, long hours in the sun, tending to the crops and animals. Medical school was hard on the mind. It was like climbing a mountain of books, every day. He gestured with his hands, as if trying to illustrate the sheer volume of studying involved. Imagine your biggest stack of books, Lily. Now imagine 10 more just like it. That's how much reading we had to do. Anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, words I couldn't even pronounce at first. Anatomy? Lily asked, tilting her head. What's that? It's the study of the body, Grandpa Doc explained. Learning about all the bones, muscles, and organs, and how they all work together. We had to memorize everything. It was like learning a whole new language. He sighed dramatically. And the tests. Oh, the tests were terrifying. They weren't like the quizzes you get in school. These were big, important exams that could make or break you. I remember one test on the heart. I studied for weeks, but when I sat down to take it, my mind went completely blank. It was like all the information had just vanished into thin air. He chuckled again, shaking his head at the memory. I managed to pull through, somehow. But it was a close call. There were times when I thought I couldn't do it, that I wasn't smart enough. But I kept reminding myself of Dr. Hemlock, and how much I wanted to help people. That's what kept me going. And the hours, he exclaimed, throwing his hands up in the air. We were in class all day, then studying all night. Sleep was a luxury. I remember falling asleep in class more than once. My poor roommate, George, he had to nudge me awake with his elbow. He paused, a wistful look in his eyes. But it wasn't all hard work and no play. We had some fun too. We were all in the same boat, struggling together. We formed a close bond, supporting each other, helping each other study. We even pulled a few pranks on our professors, nothing too serious, of course. Lily giggled, imagining Grandpa Doc as a mischievous young student. And then there were the cadavers, Grandpa Doc said, his voice dropping to a more serious tone. That was tough. We had to dissect human bodies to learn about anatomy. It was a solemn and respectful experience, but it was also unsettling. It made you realize how fragile life is. He paused, letting the silence hang in the air for a moment. Medical school wasn't easy, Lily. It pushed me to my limits, both mentally and physically. But it also taught me a lot about myself, about perseverance, and about the importance of teamwork. And it prepared me for the challenges that lay ahead. He smiled at Lily. So, if you ever decide you want to be a doctor, Lily Bug, just remember this, it's going to be a long and difficult journey. But if you're passionate about it, and you're willing to work hard, it's worth it. Every single minute. He winked. Just be prepared for those mountains of books. After all those years of studying, Grandpa Doc said, a smile spreading across his face, finally came the day when I could put all that knowledge to use. My first real patient. I'll never forget him. His name was Timmy. Lily's eyes widened with anticipation. What was wrong with Timmy? Timmy was a little scamp, about 6 years old, always running around and getting into trouble, Grandpa Doc chuckled. But one day, he fell out of a tree and scraped his knee something awful. It was a nasty scrape, all red and swollen, and he was crying like his heart would break. He paused, remembering the scene vividly. His mother, bless her heart, brought him into the clinic, and I was the only doctor on duty that day. It was my chance to prove myself, to show that all those years of hard work had paid off. Grandpa Doc leaned forward, his voice filled with warmth. I remember feeling a little nervous, to be honest. It was the first time I was completely responsible for someone's well-being. But I took a deep breath, reminded myself of everything I had learned, and got to work. First, I cleaned the wound carefully with antiseptic. Timmy winced and cried a little, but I talked to him gently, telling him it would be okay, that I was going to make him feel better. I showed him my funny bandages and let him pick one out with his favorite cartoon character on it. He smiled. That seemed to do the trick. He stopped crying and started giggling. Then, I put some ointment on the scrape and covered it with the bandage. It wasn't a complicated procedure, nothing fancy, but it was important to Timmy. And it was important to me. The next day, Grandpa Doc continued, his voice filled with pride. Timmy came back to the clinic, running and jumping like nothing had ever happened. His knee was still a little sore, but he was smiling from ear to ear. He even brought me a drawing he had made of a superhero doctor, with a big red T on his chest for Timmy. Lily clapped her hands with delight. That's so cool, Grandpa. It was, Lily Bug, it truly was, Grandpa Doc agreed. That was the moment I realized that being a doctor wasn't just about knowing the right medicine or performing complicated surgeries. It was about making a connection with people, about easing their pain, about bringing a little bit of joy into their lives, even in the smallest ways. He paused, reflecting on the memory. Seeing Timmy running and playing again, knowing that I had helped him, that was the most rewarding feeling in the world. It made all the hard work, all the long hours, all the difficult tests, worth it. It was like a light bulb went off in my head, and I knew that I had made the right choice. It wasn't just about fixing a scraped knee, he explained. It was about giving a little boy his childhood back, about giving his mother peace of mind. It was about being a part of their lives, about making a positive impact on their world. Grandpa Doc looked at Lily with a gentle smile. That first success, Lily, it gave me the confidence I needed to face the challenges that were yet to come. It reminded me why I had become a doctor in the first place, to help people, to heal them, to make their lives a little bit better. And that's a lesson I carried with me throughout my entire career. He winked. And I still have that superhero drawing, tucked away in my desk drawer. It's a reminder of why I did what I did. But being a doctor isn't always sunshine and rainbows, Lily Bug, Grandpa Doc said, his voice becoming more somber. He took a slow, deep breath, the sound heavy in the evening air. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, despite all the knowledge and skill you possess, you can't save everyone. Lily's face fell, her bright eyes clouding over with concern. What do you mean, Grandpa? Grandpa Doc reached out and gently squeezed her hand. I mean that sometimes, people are just too sick, or too injured, for even the best doctors to help. And that, Lily, is one of the hardest things a doctor has to face. He paused, staring out at the darkening sky. I remember one patient in particular. Her name was Sarah. She was a young woman, not much older than your mother, with a bright smile and a kind heart. She had a rare disease, and we tried everything we could to help her. We consulted with specialists, we tried new treatments, but nothing seemed to work. He shook his head sadly. I spent hours at her bedside, talking to her, listening to her worries, trying to keep her spirits up. She was so brave, so optimistic, even though she knew she was getting weaker. And then, one day. Grandpa Doc's voice trailed off, his eyes filled with a deep sadness. One day, she just slipped away. Despite all our efforts, despite all our hope, she was gone. Lily's lower lip trembled. That's so sad, Grandpa. It was, Lily Bug, it truly was, Grandpa Doc agreed. It felt like a part of me died with her. I had grown so close to her, I had invested so much time and energy in trying to save her, and yet I had failed. He sighed. I remember going home that night, feeling completely defeated. I questioned everything. I wondered if I had done enough, if I had missed something. I even wondered if I should quit being a doctor altogether. He looked at Lily, his eyes filled with a deep sincerity. But then, I realized that giving up wasn't the answer. Sarah wouldn't have wanted me to give up. She would have wanted me to keep fighting, to keep helping others, to keep learning and growing as a doctor. And I also realized that even though I couldn't save her life, I could still make a difference in her final days. I could provide her with comfort, with compassion, with a listening ear. I could help her and her family cope with the pain and grief. Grandpa Doc paused, reflecting on the experience. Losing Sarah taught me a valuable lesson, Lily. It taught me that doctors aren't miracle workers. We can't always fix everything. Sometimes, all we can do is be there for our patients, to offer them our support, our understanding, and our compassion. He smiled gently. And it's important to remember, Lily, that it's okay to feel sad when you lose a patient. It's okay to grieve. It means you care. It means you're human. He patted her hand. The important thing is to learn from the experience, to grow from it, and to keep moving forward, always striving to do your best for the people you care for. So, even though Sarah's death was a very sad and difficult time for me, it also made me a better doctor. It taught me the importance of empathy, of compassion, and of acceptance. And it reminded me that even in the face of loss, there is always hope. Losing Sarah was tough, Grandpa Doc reiterated softly, but it also taught me something very important, the power of listening. And that reminds me of Mrs. Gable. Lily perked up, eager for a new story. Who was Mrs. Gable? Mrs. Gable was an elderly woman, a real firecracker, with a sharp wit and a heart of gold, Grandpa Doc said, a smile returning to his face. She came to see me one day complaining of stomach pains. Now, stomach pains can be caused by all sorts of things, from indigestion to something much more serious. He paused, tapping his finger against his chin. I ran some tests, checked her over, but everything seemed normal. Her heart was fine, her blood pressure was good, and there were no signs of any obvious problems. I was stumped. So, what did you do? Lily asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Well, I could have just sent her home with some antacids and told her to come back if it didn't get better, Grandpa Doc explained. But something told me that there was more to it than that. So, I sat down with her, just like this, and I listened. He leaned back in his rocking chair, mimicking the way he would have sat with Mrs. Gable. I asked her about her life, about her family, about her worries. And as she talked, I started to piece things together. She had recently lost her husband, her best friend, of over 60 years. She was lonely, she was grieving, and she was struggling to cope. She told me that she hadn't been eating properly, that she had lost her appetite, and that she just didn't feel like doing anything anymore. She also mentioned that her stomach pains seemed to get worse when she was feeling particularly sad or stressed. Grandpa Doc looked at Lily, his eyes filled with wisdom. And that's when it hit me. Her stomach pains weren't just physical, they were also emotional. They were a manifestation of her grief, a way for her body to express the pain that she was feeling inside. So, what did you do to help her? Lily asked, her voice filled with concern. I didn't just give her medicine, Grandpa Doc replied. I listened to her, I validated her feelings, and I told her that it was okay to grieve, that it was okay to feel sad. I also suggested that she join a support group for widows and widowers, where she could connect with other people who were going through similar experiences. He smiled. And you know what? It worked. She started attending the support group, she made new friends, and she started to find joy in life again. Her stomach pains gradually disappeared, and she became her old self again, full of life and laughter. Wow, Grandpa! Lily exclaimed. So, just listening to her helped her get better? It did, Lily Bug, it truly did, Grandpa Doc confirmed. Mrs. Gable's story taught me that being a doctor isn't just about diagnosing illnesses and prescribing medications. It's also about listening to your patients, about understanding their lives, about recognizing the connection between their physical and emotional well-being. He leaned forward, his voice taking on a more serious tone. Sometimes, the best medicine you can give someone is a listening ear, a kind word, and a helping hand. It's about showing them that you care, that you understand, and that you're there for them, no matter what. Empathy, Lily, he emphasized. That's what it's all about. Putting yourself in your patient's shoes, trying to understand their perspective, and treating them with compassion and respect. That's what makes a good doctor, and that's what makes a good person. He smiled. And Mrs. Gable, she taught me that lesson better than any textbook ever could. Of course, Grandpa Doc said, his eyes twinkling, being a doctor isn't all serious business and sad stories. There were plenty of times when things got downright hilarious. Especially during the baby boom. Lily giggled. The baby boom? What's that? Well, after the war, all the soldiers came home, and everyone started having babies. Grandpa Doc explained, chuckling. It seemed like every woman in town was pregnant at the same time. The hospital was bursting at the seams. He shook his head, a wide grin spreading across his face. I remember one particular week, it was absolutely crazy. I was delivering babies day and night. I barely had time to sleep, let alone eat. I think I lived on coffee and nervous energy for about 7 days straight. One night, he continued, his voice filled with amusement, I was so tired that I almost delivered a baby in the hospital elevator. The mother, poor thing, was in labor, and we were rushing her to the delivery room when the elevator got stuck between floors. I had to coach her through the contractions while we waited for the maintenance guy to come and rescue us. Luckily, the baby waited until we got to the delivery room. Lily burst out laughing. That's crazy, Grandpa. It was crazy, but it was also incredibly rewarding, Grandpa Doc said. Bringing new life into the world, seeing the joy on the parents' faces, that's something that never gets old. It's a miracle every single time. He paused, remembering the feeling. I remember one couple, they had been trying to have a baby for years. They had almost given up hope. And then, finally, they came to me, and I helped them conceive. When I delivered their baby, it was one of the most emotional moments of my career. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. He chuckled. And then there was the time I accidentally swapped 2 babies in the nursery. Luckily, we caught the mistake before anyone took the wrong baby home. Can you imagine the chaos that would have caused? Lily's eyes widened. Oh no, Grandpa. It was a close call, Lily Bug, a very close call, Grandpa Doc agreed. But we all had a good laugh about it afterwards. It just goes to show that even doctors make mistakes sometimes. He leaned back in his rocking chair, his voice filled with warmth. The baby boom was a hectic time, but it was also a joyful time. It was a time of new beginnings, of hope for the future, and of celebrating the miracle of life. And I was lucky enough to be a part of it all. It wasn't just about delivering babies, he explained. It was about supporting families, about providing them with guidance and encouragement, about sharing in their joy. It was about being a part of their community, about making a difference in their lives. Grandpa Doc looked at Lily with a gentle smile. So, even though being a doctor can be challenging and sometimes sad, it's also full of laughter and joy. And those moments of joy, those moments of connection, those moments of celebrating life, they make all the hard work worthwhile. He winked. And they certainly make for some good stories to tell. And just when I thought I had seen it all, Grandpa Doc chuckled, medicine started changing faster than I could keep up. New technologies, new treatments, new diseases, it was a whole new world. Lily looked puzzled. But you were already a doctor, Grandpa. Didn't you know everything? Grandpa Doc laughed. Oh, Lily Bug, nobody knows everything. Especially in medicine. Things are constantly changing, new discoveries are being made all the time. You have to keep learning, keep studying, keep up with the latest research. It's a lifelong process. He paused, stroking his chin thoughtfully. I remember when computers first started appearing in hospitals. I was so confused. I had spent my whole career writing notes by hand, and suddenly I was supposed to be typing everything into a machine. It took me a while to get the hang of it, let me tell you. He smiled. And then there were the new imaging technologies, like CAT scans and MRIs. Suddenly, we could see inside the human body without having to perform surgery. It was like magic. But it also meant learning how to interpret these new images, how to use them to diagnose diseases. And the treatments. When I first started practicing medicine, we didn't have antibiotics to treat infections. People died from things that are easily curable today. But then, new drugs came along, and we could save lives that we never could have saved before. He leaned forward, his voice filled with enthusiasm. It was an exciting time, but it was also a challenging time. I had to go back to school, take courses, attend conferences, just to keep up with all the new developments. It was like being a student all over again. Did you ever feel like giving up, Grandpa? Lily asked. Like it was too much to learn. Grandpa Doc shook his head. Never, Lily Bug. I was always driven by a desire to help my patients, to provide them with the best possible care. And that meant staying up to date with the latest advances in medicine. He smiled. Besides, I enjoyed learning new things. It kept my mind sharp, it kept me engaged, and it kept me feeling young. I always said that a doctor should be a lifelong learner. He paused, reflecting on the changes he had witnessed. Medicine has come a long way since I first started practicing. We can do things today that were unimaginable back then. But one thing that hasn't changed is the importance of the doctor-patient relationship. No matter how advanced the technology becomes, it's still about caring for people, about listening to them, about treating them with compassion and respect. Grandpa Doc looked at Lily with a gentle smile. So, if you ever decide to go into medicine, Lily Bug, remember that learning never stops. Be curious, be open to new ideas, and always be willing to adapt to change. Because the world of medicine is constantly evolving, and you have to evolve with it. He winked. And don't be afraid of computers. They're actually quite useful, once you get the hang of them. But all the hard work, all the challenges, all the changes, Grandpa Doc said, his voice filled with a quiet satisfaction, they were all worth it. Because the greatest reward of being a doctor isn't the money, or the recognition, or the fancy technology. It's the opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. Lily nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. Like helping Timmy with his scraped knee? Exactly like helping Timmy with his scraped knee, Grandpa Doc confirmed, smiling. But it's more than that, too. It's about being there for people when they're scared, when they're in pain, when they're vulnerable. It's about offering them hope, about giving them comfort, about helping them heal. He paused, his gaze drifting across the town. I've been a doctor in this town for a long time, Lily Bug. I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've delivered babies who are now grown up with children of their own. I've treated illnesses, set broken bones, and patched up countless scrapes and bruises. He chuckled softly. I've been there for births and deaths, for moments of joy and moments of sorrow. I've laughed with my patients, I've cried with them, and I've shared in their lives in ways that I never could have imagined. And throughout it all, he continued, the thing that has always motivated me, the thing that has always kept me going, is the knowledge that I was making a difference. That I was helping people live healthier, happier lives. He leaned forward, his voice taking on a more serious tone. I remember one time, a young man came to see me with a mysterious illness. He had been to several other doctors, but no one could figure out what was wrong with him. He was losing weight, he was tired all the time, and he was starting to lose hope. I spent hours with him, listening to his symptoms, running tests, and trying to piece together the puzzle. And finally, after weeks of searching, I found the answer. He had a rare infection that was treatable with antibiotics. Grandpa Doc smiled, remembering the moment. When I told him the news, he burst into tears. He was so relieved to finally have a diagnosis, to finally know that he could get better. I prescribed him the antibiotics, and within a few weeks, he was back to his old self again. A few years later, Grandpa Doc continued, he came back to see me. He was married, he had a good job, and he was full of life. He thanked me for saving his life, for giving him a second chance. And that, Lily, that was the greatest reward I could have ever asked for. He looked at Lily with a gentle smile. There have been many other moments like that throughout my career. Moments when I knew that I had made a real difference in someone's life. Moments when I felt like I had truly fulfilled my calling. And that's what I want you to remember, Lily Bug, he said. Whatever you decide to do in life, find something that you're passionate about, something that you believe in, something that allows you to make a positive impact on the world. Because that's what truly matters in the end. He winked. Making a difference, that's the greatest reward of all. So, Lily Bug, Grandpa Doc said, turning to face her fully, you've heard a lot about my life as a doctor. You've heard about the good times and the bad times, the challenges and the rewards. And I hope you've learned something from it all. Lily nodded, her eyes shining with admiration. "I have, Grandpa. You're a really amazing doctor." Grandpa Doc chuckled. "Well, I wouldn't go that far. But I have tried to do my best, to serve my community, and to make a positive impact on the world." He paused, his gaze becoming more serious. "And now, I want to give you some advice, some words of wisdom that I've learned throughout my long life. Advice that I hope will help you as you grow up and make your own way in the world." He took a deep breath. "First, and most importantly, follow your dreams. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something. If you have a passion, a goal, a desire, pursue it with all your heart. Don't be afraid to take risks, to step outside of your comfort zone, to try new things." He smiled. "Remember Dr. Hemlock and that jungle doctor? They both followed their dreams, and they both made a difference in the world. You can do the same, Lily. You just have to believe in yourself. Second," he continued, "work hard. Nothing worthwhile comes easy. If you want to achieve your goals, you have to be willing to put in the time, the effort, and the dedication. Don't be afraid of hard work. Embrace it. It will make you stronger, it will make you more resilient, and it will make you appreciate your accomplishments even more." He paused, tapping his finger against his knee. "Remember those mountains of books in medical school? I had to work hard to climb them, but it was worth it in the end. You'll face your own mountains in life, Lily. Just keep climbing, one step at a time. And third," he said, his voice filled with warmth, "be kind. Treat others with compassion, with respect, and with understanding. Remember Mrs. Gable and how much she needed someone to listen to her. Everyone needs kindness, everyone needs support, and everyone needs someone to care about them." He looked at Lily, his eyes filled with love. "Be kind to your family, be kind to your friends, be kind to strangers. Be kind to yourself. Because kindness is contagious. It spreads from one person to another, making the world a better place, one act at a time. So, those are my words of wisdom, Lily Bug," Grandpa Doc concluded. "Follow your dreams, work hard, and be kind. If you do those three things, I have no doubt that you will live a happy, fulfilling, and meaningful life." He smiled. "And who knows? Maybe one day you'll become a doctor too. But even if you don't, you can still make a difference in the world. You can still be a force for good. You just have to believe in yourself and be willing to try." He winked. "And always remember to listen to your grandpa." "Thank you, Grandpa," Lily said, her voice soft and filled with gratitude. "I will remember everything you've told me." Grandpa Doc smiled, his heart swelling with love for his granddaughter. He reached out and gently squeezed her hand. "I know you will, Lily Bug. You're a smart, kind, and compassionate young woman. I have no doubt that you'll do great things in this world." He leaned back in his rocking chair, his gaze drifting towards the setting sun. The sky was now a riot of color, a breathtaking tapestry of orange, red, and gold. The clouds were edged with silver, and the air was filled with a soft, golden light. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he said, his voice filled with awe. "Every sunset is a reminder of the beauty and wonder of the world." Lily nodded, her eyes fixed on the horizon. She sat quietly beside her grandfather, content to share this peaceful moment with him. The crickets chirped in the grass, the breeze rustled the leaves of the oak tree, and the scent of honeysuckle filled the air. It was a perfect evening, a perfect ending to a perfect day. Grandpa Doc closed his eyes, savoring the moment. He felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment wash over him. He had lived a long and full life, a life filled with challenges and rewards, with joys and sorrows. He had made mistakes, he had learned from his experiences, and he had tried to do his best to make a positive impact on the world. He thought about all the people he had helped throughout his career, all the lives he had touched. He thought about Timmy, about Sarah, about Mrs. Gable, about all the babies he had delivered. He thought about all the lessons he had learned, all the wisdom he had gained. And he realized that it had all been worth it. Every single minute, every single challenge, every single sacrifice. Because he had made a difference. He had helped people, he had healed people, and he had made the world a little bit better. He opened his eyes and looked at Lily, his heart overflowing with love. She was the future, she was the hope, and she was the embodiment of everything he had worked for throughout his life. He smiled. "The sun's almost gone," he said, his voice soft. "Time for you to go inside and get ready for bed." Lily nodded and stood up, brushing the dust off her pants. "Good night, Grandpa," she said, giving him a warm hug. "I love you." "I love you too, Lily Bug," Grandpa Doc replied, hugging her back. "Sweet dreams." Lily turned and walked towards the house, her silhouette outlined against the fading light. Grandpa Doc watched her go, his heart filled with pride. He leaned back in his rocking chair, closed his eyes, and listened to the sounds of the evening. The world was at peace, and so was he. He had lived a good life, a fulfilling life, and he was grateful for every single moment. As the last sliver of sun disappeared below the horizon, Grandpa Doc smiled. He had learned a lot from being a doctor. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that he wouldn't have traded it for anything in the world. The porch was quiet now, bathed in the soft glow of the moon. The stories were told, the lessons were learned, and the day was done. Grandpa Doc sat contentedly, a peaceful smile on his face, grateful for the memories, grateful for the present, and hopeful for the future. He knew, deep down, that his legacy would live on, not just in the town he had served, but also in the heart of his beloved granddaughter. The end.